तजक सूत्र का मतलब क्या है?
जो होता है ध्वजा ध्वजा।
अच्छा,
ध्वजा के बारे में बताते हैं ना।
पंख चले
चलाएगा
बहुत कम रखा हुआ।
ठंड है ना आज तो।
ठंड नहीं है, ठंड नहीं,
ठंड नहीं नहीं तो संज्ञा मुझे तो
ये नंबरिंग आ नहीं रही इसमें।
जब तक नहीं करेंगे तब तक
टू को लिखा था ना आपने, किया एक बार और लिख देंगे रिमाइंडर।
फर्क पड़ता है, छोटा सा लगेगा।
हम समझना नाम कोई तो अच्छा, इसलिए जरूरी चांस है।
Connected to OnePlus 3G.
सम्मा संबुद्धो स्वकतो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावक संघो तमयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससंघं इमे हि सत्कारे यथार्हन्नारोपिते हि अभिपूजयामा साधुनो भन्ते भगवा शुचिरपरिनिब्बतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनतानुकम्पमानसा इमे सत्कारे दुर्गतपनाकारभूते पटिगह्नातु अम्हाकं दीघ्रतं हिताय सुखाय सम्मा संबुद्ध भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि
हन्दमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो पुब्बभाग नमकारं करोमसि
नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्दस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्दस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्दस्स
आनंदमयं बुद्धानुसतिनयं करोमसि तं
पन भगवन्तं एवं कल्याणं कीर्तिसद्धो अभुगतो इति पिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरणसम्पन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्मसारथि सत्ता देवमनुस्सानं बुद्धो भगवाति
आनंदमयं बुद्धाभिगीतिं करोमसि
अरहन्त वरतादिगुणाभियुतो युद्धाभिज्ञानकरुणा हि समागततो बोधेशियो सुजनतं कमलं वसुरो वन्दाम्यहं तमर्याजिनेन्दम् बुद्धो यो सब्बपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं तत्मानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् अस्मिदासो वा बुद्धो मे सामिकिस्सरो बुद्धस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तोऽहं चरिष्यामि बुद्धस्यैव सुबोधितं नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं शरणं वरं एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पशुतं यदा सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेशुं तस्य तेजसाम् कायेन वाचेन वाचेतसा बुद्धेन ब्रह्मं प्रकटमय कालान्तरे संवरितं बुद्धे
आनंदमयं ब्रह्मानुसतिनयं करोमसि स्वाखातो
भगवता धम्मो सन्दिट्ठिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको पनैको पश्चत्तं वेदितव्यो विज्ञोहीति
आनंदमयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसि
स्वाकाततादिगुणयोगवशेन सेयो यो मग्गपाकपरियत्तिविमोक्षभेदो धम्मो कुलोकपतनात्तदधारिधारी वन्दाम्यहं तमर्नं एतं धम्मो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् दासो वा सम्मो मे सामिकिस्सरो धम्मस्सहं नियादेमि
शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तोऽहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्यैव सुधम्मतं नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पशुतं यदा सभ्येऽपि अन्तराया मे माहेषु तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा मनसा वा कम्मं प्रकटम् धम्मो पटिगनातो च कालान्तरे संवरितं धम्मे
आनंदमयं संगानुसतिनयं करोमसि
सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अट्टपुरुषपुङ्गला येषु भगवतो सावक संघो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अञ्जलिकरणीयो
अनुत्तरं
पुण्यखेतं लोकसाति
आनंदमयं संगाविगीतिं करोमसि
मजो सुपटिपत्तिगुणादियुतो यो अष्टविधो हरियपुङ्गलसङ्गसेठो शीलादिधम्मपवरासयकायचित्तो वन्दाम्यहं तमर्यानगणं सुशुद्धम् यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं ततीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं सङ्गस्मि दासो वा सङ्गो मे सामिकेश्वरो सङ्गस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तोऽहं चरिष्यामि सङ्घस्य उपटिपन्नतं नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं
संगो मे
शरणं वरम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने संगं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पशुतं यदा सभ्येऽपि अन्तराया मे माहेषु तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा मनसा संगपटिगनातो च कालान्तरे संवरितं संगे हम जग सूत्र का पाठ करेंगे।
1+3T, disconnected, ready to pair. Connected to 1+3T.
ධජග්ග පරිත්ත නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස එවං මේ සුතං ඒකං සමයං භගවා සාවත්ථියං විහෙරති ජේතවනේ අනාථ පිණ්ඩිකස්ස ආරාමේ තත්‍රකෝ භගවා භික්ඛු ආමන්තේසි භික්ඛවෝති බදන්තේති තේ භික්ඛු භගවතෝ පච්චස්සෝසුං භගවා ඒතදවෝච භූත පුබ්බං භික්ඛවේ දේවාසුර සංගාමෝ සමුපබ්බුල්හෝ අහෝසි අතකෝ භික්ඛවේ සක්කෝ දේවානමින්දෝ දේවේ තාවතින්සේ ආමන්තේසි සචේ මාරිසා දේවානං සංගාමගතානං uppajjeය භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා මමේව තස්මින් සමයේ ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත මමං හිවෝ ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහි ඉසති නොචේ මේ ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත අත පජාපතිස්ස දේවරාජස්ස ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත පජාපතිස්ස හිවෝ දේවරාජස්ස ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහි ඉසති නොචේ පජාපතිස්ස දේවරාජස්ස ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත අත වරුණස්ස දේවරාජස්ස ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත වරුණස්ස හිවෝ දේවරාජස්ස ධජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහි ඉසති නොචේ වරුණස්ස දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත අත ඊසානස්ස දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකේයාත ඊසානස්ස හිවෝ දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහිස්සති තං කෝපන භික්ඛවේ සක්කස්සවා දේවා නමින්දස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං පජාපතිස්සවා දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං වරුණස්සවා දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං ඊශානස්සවා දේවරාජස්ස දජග්ගං උල්ලෝකයතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහියේථාපි නෝපි පහියේත තං කිස්ස හේතු සක්කෝ භික්ඛවේ දේවා නමින්දෝ අවීත රාගෝ අවීත දෝසෝ අවීත මෝහෝ භීරුච්ඡම්භි උත්‍රාසි පලායිති අහංච කෝ භික්ඛවේ එවං වදාමි සචේතුම්හා කං භික්ඛවේ අරඤ්ඤගතානං වා රුක්ඛමූලගතානං වා ශුඤ්ඤාගාරගතානං වා uppajjeyya භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා මමේව තස්මින් සමයේ අනුස්සරියාත ඉතිපිසෝ භගවා අරහං සම්මා සම්බුද්ධෝ විජ්ජාචරණ සම්පන්නෝ සුගතෝ ලෝකවිදු අනුත්තරෝ පුරිස ධම්මසාරථි සත්තා දේ මනසානං බුද්ධෝ භගවාති මමං හිවෝ භික්ඛවේ අනුස්සරතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝ පහිස්සති නොචේ මං අනුස්සරියාත අත ධම්මං අනුස්සරියාත ස්වාක්ඛාතෝ භගවතා ධම්මෝ සම්දිට්ඨිකෝ අකාලිකෝ ඒහිපස්සිකෝ ඕපනයිකෝ පච්චත්තං වේදිතබ්බෝ විඤ්ඤුහිති ධම්මං හි ඕ භික්ඛවේ අනුස්සරතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝපහිසති නොචේ ධම්මං අනුස්සරේයාත අත සංඝං අනුස්සරේයාත සුපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ උජුපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ ඥායපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ සාමීචි පටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ යදිදං චත්තාරි පුරිස යුගානි අට්ඨ පුරිස පුග්ගලා ඒස භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ පාහුනේයෝ දක්ඛිනේයෝ අංජලි කරණීයෝ අනතරං පුඤ්ඤක්ඛේතං ලෝකසාති සංඝං හිවෝ භික්ඛවේ අනුස්සරතං යං භවිස්සති භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ වා සෝපහිස්සති තං කිස්ස හේතු තථාගතෝ භික්ඛවේ අරහං සම්මා සම්බුද්ධෝ විතරාගෝ විතදෝසෝ විතමෝහෝ අභීරු අච්ඡම්භි අනුත්‍රාසි අපලායිති ඉදමවෝච භගවා ඉදං වත්වා සුගතෝ අථා පරං ඒතදවෝච සත්තා අරඤ්ඤේ රුක්ඛ මූලේවා ශුඤ්ඤාගාරේව භික්ඛවෝ අනුස්සරේත සම්බුද්ධං භයං තුම්මාක නොසියා නොචේ බුද්ධං සරයාත ලෝක ජෙට්ඨං නරා සභං අත ධම්මං සරයාත නීයානිකං සුදේශිතං නොචේ ධම්මං සරයාත නීයානිකං සුදේශිතං අත සංඝං සරයාත පුඤ්ඤක්ඛෙත්තං අනුත්තරං එවං බුද්ධං සරන්තානං ධම්මං සංඝං ච භික්ඛවෝ භයං වා චම්බිතත්තං වා ලෝමහංසෝ නහෙසති ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සොත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සොත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සුත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා.
आज की देशना थोड़ी छोटी है तो इसलिए थोड़ी 10-15 मिनट बैठ के शांति से ध्यान कर लेते हैं। जिस तरह सुबह हमने ध्यान किया था उसी तरह 15 मिनट ध्यान कर लेते हैं चुपचाप। पहले चित्त को समाहित कर लेते हैं। अगर चित्त इधर उधर हिल रहा है तो थोड़ी देर आनापान कर लें या मेत्ता भावना कर लें जिससे मन शांत हो जाए। चित्त समाहित हो गया तो फिर अटेंशन को एक जगह ना रख के ओपन कर देते हैं। कोई एकाग्रता का अभ्यास नहीं करते, जिसे अजान सुमेधो कहते हैं ओपन अवेयरनेस। जो कुछ भी अनुभव में अपने आप स्वतः आ रहा है उसको जानते हैं। शरीर में होने वाली संवेदना आती है या बाहर से शब्द आता है, कोई आवाज आती है, स्वतः ही हम उसको जानते हैं। हमको उसको एफर्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। तो अपने आप जो मालूम पड़ रहा है उसको जानते हैं। कोई प्रतिक्रिया नहीं करेंगे। अनात्म भाव को याद रखते हुए जो कुछ भी जागता है संस्कार है, वो मैं नहीं, मेरा नहीं, मेरी आत्मा नहीं, तो उसके साथ उलझेंगे नहीं। बस इतनी सी इंस्ट्रक्शन याद करके 10-15 मिनट ऐसे ही ध्यान करते हैं। कोई मन में विचार आ गया, मन भटक गया, तो ठीक है, उस समय की यही सच्चाई है। जैसे ही मालूम पड़ेंगे जान लेंगे वो मन में संस्कार जागा है, वो मैं नहीं हूँ, मेरा नहीं है, मेरी आत्मा नहीं है। बस इतना जान देंगे तो अपने आप शांत हो जाएगा। और नहीं भी हो तो देखते रहेंगे। We'll now listen to the Desana by Ajahn Pannadhammo.
हिंदी छू करना
on the guardians of the world. That is the title.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I'll begin with a story. Sakka, the king of the gods, has 4 daughters. They're Asa, Sada, Siri, and Hiri, or in English, luck, faith, hope, and honor. And at one time they went down to earth to enjoy the waters and sport in the waters at Lake Anotata. Anotata is a magical lake high up in the Himalaya and is a resort for all kinds of mythical beings, Nagas, and when there are Pacheka Buddhas in the world, they like to take their day's ease by the banks of Lake Anotata. When the Buddha spent a rainy season in Tawatingsa, he would come to earth every day for his day meal, and he would, after his meal, he would rinse his mouth with the waters of Lake Anotata, which have a magical quality, a healing quality, and very pure. So these 4 divine goddesses were sporting in the water at Lake Anotata, enjoying themselves. And when they came out of the water, they saw there was a seer, a rishi of great power, who was taking his ease there as well. And he had a parasol that he had fashioned from a leaf from the, or a flower from the Parichataka tree in Tawatingsa. This marvelous tree that lasts for a whole world age and is the emblem of the Dewas. So this kind of upset the Sakka's daughters, the 4 Dewis, and they said this is not suitable that a human being should have a parasol made from a divine flower. This should belong to us. And the Rishi said, very well, I'll give it to the one of you who is the foremost. This is a clever trick on his part to distract their attention, because they immediately started quarreling amongst themselves about who was the foremost. And it grew quite heated. And then they turned to him and said, well, you choose. And he said, I can't possibly choose. You should take that up to your father, King Saka. So they went back up to Tawatingsa. They now forgot entirely about the parasol. They had to settle this question, who was the foremost among them? And they went into the audience hall of King Saka, who is the lord of the gods of Tawatingsa, is a courageous warrior who goes into battle against the Asuras. And all beings are in awe of Saka. But when his 4 daughters came and demanded he choose which is the foremost, he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to deal with that one. So he said, I can't possibly choose between you, my dears. We'll have to give this decision to someone else. And he hit on the idea of taking it to a holy man, Kausya, who lived on earth on the slopes of Mount Gandamana. And he said to his charioteer Matali, he said, take a cup of ambrosia, the Sudabhojana, the divine food of the gods. He said, take a cup of this ambrosia to Kausya. This holy man has made a vow he will never take a meal without sharing it. So when he has the ambrosia cup in his hand, then the 4 daughters will appear, and whichever one he shares it with is the foremost. So Matali goes in the divine chariot, he goes down to earth and he presents Kausya with this cup of ambrosia and immediately leaves. And then the 4 daughters appear, one in each of the cardinal directions, north, east, south, and west. They appear in a blaze of light. They manifest themselves in front of him, and they tell him of their quarrel, who is the foremost. And they each state their case. Asa, luck, says, I'm the foremost. Anyone who possesses luck in this earth, they get all good things at any time and without any effort. Luck is the most sought after by humans, and they was. And the holy man said, well, luck is kind of a dubious virtue. It's unreliable and fickle. It comes and goes. You can never depend on it. And anyone who depends on luck, well, they usually don't get very far. I can't really endorse that. And then Sada, faith, says, my virtue is supreme. Whoever has faith, they have a guidance in life. They're sure about what they're doing. They have confidence. They step forward boldly. You should choose me. And Kausya says, well, faith is well and good if it's placed in something worthwhile. But humans often place their faith in foolish things, and it leads them into all kinds of misadventure. I don't think I can endorse this quality wholeheartedly. So then Siri, the goddess of hope, she steps forward and states her case. And she says, everyone needs to have hope and to keep you going in dark times, and it's a sure refuge. And Kausya says, well, hope is all well and good, but it often leads people into trouble. Mariners set out to sea hoping to make their fortune, and they end up getting shipwrecked. People have hope that their projects are going to work, and then when they fail, they're devastated. No, I don't think hope is a kind of a flimsy thing to rely on. I don't think we can go with that. And then Hiri, honor, she steps forward and she makes her case that honor is the best thing, no matter what misfortunes one encounters in life, no matter what difficulties, As long as you keep your honor, you can have self-respect and you can feel good about yourself, and it never lets you down. And he endorsed this was a proper view, and he shared the Sutta with Hiri. Now, this is a kind of a charming story with an intended moral lesson, and the goddesses, of course, representing their eponymous virtues and the contest between them. This quality of Hiri is something that's very important in the world, in our lives and our actions. It's one of two qualities, Hiri and Ottappa, that are called the bright guardians of the world. Sukha Lokapala, the guardians of the world. And they have been usually translated. If you see books in English talking about Buddhist themes, Hiri and Ottappa are usually translated as shame and moral dread, which I think is a dreadful misfortune that that's become the standard translation, because it sounds very off-putting. You know, who wants to have developed shame and moral dread? You know, it's not very encouraging. You know? That story, I used the translation of honor, and I was following in that the English translation of the Jataka stories. He used honor, which is not bad. I kind of like the idea of self-respect. Hiri is the quality or virtue of not wanting to transgress, because this is where the idea of shame comes in. You feel you have too much respect in your own being that you don't want to sully it with foolish or disreputable actions. You have this self-respect. Yeah? And Ottappa is the quality of having a
Battery low, please charge now.
So you understand the law of karma, and you refrain from unskillful action because you realize it will lead to a painful result. So one of these qualities is inward looking, and the other is outward looking. There's an analogy. If you have a iron rod
Battery low, please charge now.
heated red hot, heated red hot, and the other end is smeared with dung. You wouldn't want to pick up either end, but for different reasons. the one that's smeared with dung, because it's disgusting, and you'd be shamed to have your hand covered in dung. And the other end is red hot, so you would fear to pick it up for fear of getting burnt, for fear of the consequences. So these qualities of Hiri and Ottappa are the underpinning of all morality and indeed of all social order. There's a short sutta in the Ita-Uttaka that speaks about Hiri and Ottappa and says that when these are lacking in the world, people act shamelessly like animals. And when they're present in the world, then people are well behaved and good ordered, and things proceed in a harmonious way. It's the difference between a person who acts in a morally transgressive way and someone who's virtuous is the presence or lack of these qualities of Hiri and Ottappa. And we can see that not only in our own persons, but in the society at large. We can see that, when there are many foolish and dangerous criminal things going on, there's a lack in the culture of Hiri and Ottappa. When people have a sense of personal honor, self-respect, and they also have a healthy regard for the consequences of their actions, then they're going to behave in a moral way, a harmonious way with others. And society is going to be healthy and things are going to proceed well. When these qualities are lacking, then people only look at their short-term gratification of their desires, then without any shame and without any fear of consequence, then society falls apart. We need to distinguish the quality of Hiri from the idea of guilt. The sense of guilt is something else entirely. It's an unskillful mind state. All of us, sure, if we examine our past, our lives, we'll find episodes and actions that we're not proud of, mistakes we've made, bad decisions we've made. And problem that we make for ourselves later is to feel guilty, to bear a burden of guilt, which is not a skillful mind state. It's a way of punishing ourselves, and it's really quite unproductive. This regret and remorse and guilt are something that can plague the mind and is an unskillful way of dealing with our memories and our thoughts. If one has an understanding of both of the law of karma and also of the Buddhist teaching around the emptiness of personality, of not self, then one can regard things done in the past in with an eye of wisdom and see this action was done skillfully, this was for the good. This action was done unskillfully, it was not conducive to the good. And just judge them dispassionately and with wisdom and understanding, and use it as a lesson to guide your actions in the future. What was done in the past is done. It's over. It's no longer at this moment a reality. It's only a mental formation. And we experience, through the law of karma, we experience the unfolding of actions into the future. This is otapa, is having regard for consequences. If we understand the law of karma, then we can see that our actions bear fruit. Sometimes on a very short time scale, sometimes on a longer scale, and sometimes over the course of lifetimes. Now we begin our life with a baggage, a package of karmic traces from previous lifetimes. And there's nothing we can do about that. We can control our actions going forward. Okay? And this is always, when thinking about karma, it's always far more useful and productive to have a forward-looking view. Not to dwell on past karma that was made in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes. Or not to be obsessed with trying to figure out the intricacies, which is something that the Buddha said can only lead to confusion and madness. No one can fully understand all the intricacies of karma. But we take a forward-looking view and we try and correct our actions going forward, which is something that we do have the freedom and the capacity and the power to do, is to make new karma going forward. Old karma that's previously been made is already done. There's nothing to be done about it. But whatever karma we make from this moment forward is entirely within our own power. Another aspect of this, of Hiri in particular, is something that from outside the Buddhist tradition, in sociology, there's a theory about cultural forms, that some societies are guilt-based and some are shame-based. And shame in this context sounds somewhat like Hiri. And the guilt-based cultures tend to be more, and that's generally the strongest guilt-based cultures are in the West, and mostly like the Protestant tradition. And the shame-based cultures, the strongest form of those are in East Asia, like Japan is considered as a classic case of a shame or honor-based society, the honor being the positive and shame the negative. And this is what is said to motivate behavior in these societies. In the guilt society, it's a feeling of a sense of punishment when one's done something wrong. So there might be a fear of external punishment, like from the state, and also guilt is a form of self-punishment. Whereas in the East, it's a sense of social propriety. There's a feeling in the culture that the worst thing one can do is disgrace oneself amongst one's peers. They're like losing face. And this is what governs actions of people. If we take the Buddhist pairing of Hiri and Ottappa, it kind of combines the best features of both. That with Hiri there's a sense of respect and not wanting to lose that, not wanting to be shamed, but it's not looking outwards, it's an internal virtue. So one is not, even acts done in secret and in private can be governed by Hiri, because you have too much respect for yourself to disgrace yourself. And Ottappa is not guilt in the sense of self-punishment, but it's a sense of understanding that actions have consequences. So you don't act in in a heedless way. So there is, in a sense, you could say there's a fear of punishment, although that's a misleading word to use in the context of the Buddhist teaching, because karma is not a punishment, because there's no punisher. It's just a natural law that what goes around comes around. Is a colloquial way of expressing it. That if we perform skillful actions, we will receive favorable results, and if we perform unskillful actions, we will receive unfavorable results. And there's nobody up in the sky doling out rewards and demerits. It's just a natural law, like the law of gravity, or the law of conservation of momentum. It's just an understanding that certain actions have certain consequences, and that if we lead our lives according to that principle, then they will be more harmonious. So those are the qualities underpinning the actions, virtuous or otherwise, in the world. And the specific guidelines for ethics given in the Theravada is either the 5 precepts or the 10 right courses of action, which are basically the same thing, just expressed in a different format. And the idea of the precepts, properly understood, is the expression in a formal way of Hiriyanotapa, that actions done within the bounds of the precepts are governed by Hiriyanotapa. In Pali, the formula for taking the precepts is Sikkapada Samadhiyami. I will endeavor to train myself to follow this guideline, which is quite a different spirit than, say, a commandment. This is not like a commandment that comes down from on high and you're going to be tormented if you disobey. This is like wise advice from an elder. That this is how you can live your life well. And if you follow these guidelines, you will have less suffering in the world. Your life will be more harmonious. You will not have to deal with evil consequences. Whenever we break a precept, we end up suffering for it. Sometimes the suffering is almost immediate, and sometimes it's long delayed. But there's always a negative consequence to it. And if we're well grounded in Hiriyanotapa, then we can have a lot of confidence in going forward. I would say if you have a good grounding in Hiri, then you get the blessings of all of Sakka's daughters. Because if you have this self-respect and you act from a sense of not wanting to be shamed, so you're acting wisely, then you're making good karma. So you'll have what the world calls luck. Really, there's no such thing as luck. There's no random arising. Things happen according to cause and condition. So if you're making good karma, you will have good results. And the world will perceive you as lucky. And you have your faith placed in something solid. You have your faith, your confidence in your own virtue. And you can have a justified hope that things are going to work out and improve for you because you're laying a good foundation. You're not hoping on miracles. Your hope is based on the unfoldment of results of wise actions you're taking now. So I'll stop there.
संक्षेप में इसका अनुवाद कर देते हैं। आपने हीरी और उत्तप्पा की जो बातें, गार्जियंस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, संसार के रक्षक कहे जाते हैं, उसके कहानी के रूप में उन्होंने प्रस्तुत किया कि जो देवताओं के राजा हैं, शक या इंद्र जिसे हम कहते हैं, उसकी 4 बेटियां हैं, आशा, श्रद्धा, शीरी और हीरी और शीरी। तो वो एक बार किसी लेक पे जाती हैं, यहाँ हिमालय में कोई मैजिकल लेक है, अनुत्तप्ता लेक नाम से, और वहाँ पे अपना क्रीड़ा करके जब बाहर आती हैं तो देखते हैं कि ऋषि वहाँ बैठे हैं, जो तावतिम सरलोक का जो पारिजातक पेड़ है उसके पत्तों से उन्होंने अपनी छत्र बनाया हुआ है। तो उनको ये अच्छा नहीं लगता, तो वो जाती हैं ऋषि के पास। तो ऋषि कहते ठीक है, मैं आपको ये दे दूंगा, आप बता दो आप चारों में से कौन सबसे अच्छा है, मैं उसको दे दूंगा। तो वो आपस में डिसाइड कर नहीं पाती, झगड़ा सा होने लगता है। तो ऋषि समझता है चलो आप ही बता दो। कहता नहीं, मैं तो नहीं बता सकता, आप अपने पिता से जाके पूछो। वो पिता के पास जाती हैं तो पिता भी घबराते हैं कि किसी को कहूँगा तो नाराज़ हो जाएंगी। कहती हैं अच्छा ऐसा करो, तो एक ऋषि हैं कोशी नाम से, उनके पास जाओ और अपने चैरिटर मातली को देते हैं कुछ अमृत तरह का पीने को, ओके उनको दे दो। और उनका एक नियम है कि वो कुछ भी नहीं खाते जब तक वो किसी के साथ शेयर ना करें। तो तुम चारों में से जिसके साथ वो शेयर करेंगे तो तुम समझ लेना वो तुम सबसे अच्छी हो। तो जाते हैं, ऐसा करते हैं। तो ऋषि के पास जब वो भोजन ले आता है वो अमृत, और वो देखता है तुरंत 4 लड़कियां आ जाती हैं। तो वो कहता है कि अब किसको दूँ? तो कहते हैं हाँ, हम यही चाहते हैं जानना कि हम में से सबसे बड़ा कौन है। ये कई समय से इसी बात पे चर्चा हो रही है। तो अपने अपने गुण बताती हैं, कहती मैं आशा हूँ, एक श्रद्धा है, एक हीरी है, एक शीरी है। तो उसका ट्रांसलेशन कर रहे हैं लक नहीं, हालांकि ट्रांसलेशन कुछ उचित नहीं लग रहा, लेकिन जैसा उन्होंने कहा मैं वैसे बताता हूँ कि मैं लक है, मतलब भाग्य है, और भाग्य सबसे चीज़ होती है। मनुष्य भी, देवता भी चाहते हैं कि सबसे बड़ा अच्छा भाग्य, और सभी लोग हमें ही चाहते हैं भाग्य को। कहता है लेकिन भाग्य तो विश्वास करने योग्य नहीं, अनरिलायबल है, कभी भी बदल सकता है, तो फॉरमोस्ट तो तुमको नहीं मान सकते। पर श्रद्धा कहती है कि हाँ, मेरे को जिसका मेरे पे श्रद्धा जिसकी हो, वो कॉन्फिडेंस रहता है, उसको विश्वास रहता है, वो अपना काम ठीक से करता है। तो उसको भी कहते नहीं, उसमें गड़बड़ भी हो जाती है, अधिक श्रद्धा से और अंधश्रद्धा से गड़बड़ हो सकती है। फिर आशा कहती है, होप वाली, वो कहती है कि हाँ असली जब कठिन टाइम आता है तब तो सिर्फ आशा ही काम करती है, उम्मीद ही काम करती है। कहते लेकिन हाँ, अननेसेसरी आशा होने से भी गड़बड़ हो जाती है। लोग आशा करते हैं ये काम ठीक हो जाएगा, नहीं होता। लोग समुद्र में घूमने खोज में जाते हैं आशा की, और वहाँ नहीं होता और मर जाते हैं। तो वो भी पक्का चीज़ नहीं है। फिर हीरी आती है, कहती हाँ, मैं जो मेरा जो स्वभाव है वो है सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट का, कि कोई गलत काम करने से बचना, के प्रति शर्म होना, कॉन्साइंस जिसे कहते हैं, कि कोई भी परिस्थिति आ जाए, कैसी भी परिस्थिति आ जाए, तो अगर कोई हीरी को रखेगा बचा के, सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट रखेगा, तो जो भी करेगा वो अच्छा ही करेगा। तो कहता हाँ तुम सबसे उत्तम हो। तो वो उनको भोजन देते हैं। तो ये कहानी बताई गई ये समझाने के लिए कि हीरी जो है एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण गुण है। और जैसे हमने पढ़ा हुआ है, हीरी ओतप्पा जो है भगवान उसको कहते हैं ये संसार के रक्षक हैं। अगर ये हीरी ओतप्पा जैसे जैसे संसार में कम होता जाता है, लोग शर्म भूल जाते हैं, गलत काम करने से कोई शर्म नहीं आती, गलत काम करने का कोई भय नहीं रहता, तो फिर सारा समाज जो है विसंगत हो जाता है, समाज में बुरी हालत हो जाती है। और अजान कह रहे थे कि इसको अगर हम देखें तो शायद आजकल की परिस्थिति वैसी ही है कि लोगों को गलत काम करने में कोई शर्म नहीं है, कोई ढबाई नहीं है, और जो भी इतनी गलत काम हो रहे हैं संसार में, समाज में, वो शायद इसी कारण से है। तो फिर बता रहे थे कि इंग्लिश में जो ट्रांसलेशन हीरी का किया जाता है, मॉरल शेम, मॉरल ड्रेड, उसको कमियां बता रहे थे कि बेसिकली उसको हमको सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट और रेस्पेक्ट फॉर अदर्स के रूप में समझना चाहिए। अपने लिए, अपने आत्मसम्मान और दूसरों का सम्मान करना, या दूसरे अपने जो कर्म हैं उनके प्रति, उनके फल के प्रति सजग रहना, इस तरह से समझें तो ज़्यादा ठीक रहता है। उन्होंने बताया कि सोशियोलॉजी में 2 तरह की सोसाइटीज़ मानी जाती हैं, एक जो कि अपराध बोध के कारण बैठी होती हैं, जो जैसे कि पश्चिम में है कि कोई गलत काम हो गया तो अपराध हो गया, फिर उस पर हमको सज़ा मिलेगी, और दूसरी जो हीरी बेस्ड हैं, जो कि कल्चर्स हैं जिनमें कि ऑनर की बहुत, अपनी हमारी सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। उसका उदाहरण उन्होंने जापान का दिया कि जहाँ पे कि लोग अपने को, उनको इतना ख्याल रहता है सोशल प्रोप्राइटरी का कि हम कोई ऐसा काम ना करें कि समाज में हमारी बदनामी हो। तो उन्होंने कहा कि भगवान ने जो हीरी और तप्पा का जोड़ा है, तो इसमें दोनों तरह की सोसाइटीज़ आ जाती हैं, दोनों तरह के एक्शन आ जाते हैं कि हम छुप के भी ऐसा काम नहीं करेंगे जिससे कि हमारी सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट पे आँच आए, और हम समझते हैं कि गलत काम करने का गलत अक्सर होता है क्योंकि कर्म सिद्धांत को जानते हैं। और तो फिर अंत में अजान ने कहा कि अगर आप हीरी को ठीक से, हीरी और रोतप्पा को ठीक से हृदयंगम करते हैं तो समझते हैं कि वही 5 जो शील हैं उनका आधार सचमुच में वही हैं। और अगर हम ये हीरी रखते हैं तो फिर हमारी जो भाग्य है वो अपने आप सुधरेगा, क्योंकि अच्छे काम करेंगे तो अच्छा ही नतीजा आएगा। और श्रद्धा अगर इस पे हीरी पे रखेंगे तो हम वर्चू पे श्रद्धा रखेंगे, अच्छे कामों पर श्रद्धा रखेंगे तो वो भी अच्छी बात ही है, उससे लाभ ही होगा। और फिर हम आशा भी कर सकते हैं कि हाँ हमने अच्छे काम किए हैं तो हमको आशा है कि अच्छा ही उसका प्रतिमा आया। तो उन्होंने उस तरह से समझाया कि ये हीरी को अगर हम पाल के रखते हैं, हीरी और तप्पा को संभाल के रखते हैं, तो चारों इंद्र की जो बेटियां हैं उनका आशीर्वाद हमें मिलता रहता है। तो इस प्रकार से उन्होंने इसको, कहानी को इस शिक्षा से, हीरी और तप्पा की शिक्षा से जोड़ा है। तो करुणा ब्रह्म विहार करना थोड़ी देर करते हैं, उसका अभ्यास करते हैं। हमारे समाज की स्थिति आप सब मालूम ही है हमको, अपने शहर की खास तौर पे दिल्ली, मुंबई, अहमदाबाद, बड़े बड़े शहरों की हालत दुर्दशा है। हज़ारों लोग प्रतिदिन बीमारी से ग्रस्त हो रहे हैं, सैकड़ों लोग मर रहे हैं, तो दुख ही दुख है। तो अपनी इच्छा को इन शब्द देते हुए आटानाटी सूत्र के जो वचन हम रिसाइट करते हैं उसको रिसाइट करते हैं कि सभी प्राणी दुख से मुक्त हो, सुखी हो, रोग से मुक्त हो। जो अरहंत हैं, जो बुद्ध हैं, जो इस समय भी हैं अरहंत, उन सब के मैत्री के बल से, उनके पारमियों के बल से सबका मंगल हो, दुख दूर हो, रोग दूर हो। तो गाथाएं हम पढ़ते हैं। वचसा मनसा चैव वन्दामेते तथागते, शयने आसने ठाने, गमने चापि सर्वदा, सदा सुखेन रक्षन्तु बुद्धा सन्ति करातुवं, ते हि त्वं रक्षितो सन्तो मुक्तो भवभयेन च सर्वरोगविनिमुक्तो सर्वसन्तापवर्जितो सर्ववैरमतिकन्तो निवृतो च त्वं भव तेषां सच्चेन शीलेन खन्ति मेत्ताबलेन च तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। सभी प्राणी जो दुख में हैं इस समय, उनकी रक्षा हो, रोग से रक्षा हो, ऐसी शुभकामना, ऐसी शुभेच्छा हम सब अपने मन में करते हैं। जो महानिधि और सिद्धि वाले प्राणी हैं, उनकी सिद्धियों का आवाहन करते हुए पुरथिमस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति भूता महीधिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च दक्षिणस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति देवा महीधिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च पश्चिमस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति नागा महीधिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च उत्तरस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति यक्षा महीधिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। इसी प्रकार चतुर महाराज जी का देवा चार देवों देशाओं के लोकपाल हैं, उनके प्रति आवाहन करके पुरीं दिशं धतरट्ठो दक्षिणेन विरुल्लको पश्चिमेन विरूपको कुबेरोत्तरं दिशं चत्तारो ते महाराजा लोकपालाय सस्सिनो तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च आकाशट्ठा च भूमट्ठा देवा नागा महीधिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। हम सब अपने दुखों से मुक्त हों, करुणा ब्रह्म विहार के मन में व्याप्त होने से शरीर पे जो प्रभाव पड़ता है, शरीर पे जो वेदना जाती है, उसको व्याप्त होने के लिए समय देते हैं और फिर दसों दिशाओं में शुभकामना, ऐसी शुभेच्छा को व्याप्त करते हैं। करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परित्वा विहरति तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं इति ऊर्ध्वं अधोतिर्यं सम्बधि सम्बद्धताय सम्भावन्तं लोकं करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महगतेन अपमानेन अवेरेण अव्यापज्येन फरित्वा विहरति। तो इस भाव से सभी दिशाओं को करुणा से व्याप्त करके अपने को एवं सभी को सभी लोगों में विपुल महान असीम निर्वैर द्वेष रहित करुणा संपन्न चित्त से व्याप्त कर विहार करते हैं। तो थोड़ी देर ऐसे शरीर को देखते हुए तरंगों को चारों तरफ फैलने देते हैं सभी दिशाओं में, 10 दिशाओं में, ताकि भगवान की आदेश का पालन हो। अंततः सभी दुखों से मुक्ति तभी होगी जब हम 4 आर्य सत्यों को ठीक से समझेंगे, हमारी दृष्टि सम्यक होगी। तो ऐसी शुभकामना करते हुए कि सभी की दृष्टि सम्यक हो, इस अभ्यास का विराम देते हैं। सबे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु, सबे होन्तु जखेमिनो, सबे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा किञ्चित् पापमागमात्, मा किञ्चित् शोकमागमात्, मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमात्। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं, रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता, सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोत्ति भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सोत्ति भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सोत्ति भवन्तु ते अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि साक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि